Hello everyone and welcome to the Testing for Common Attacks course conclusion. So here we are at last, and as you know, this video is very important to me because it allows me to again revisit the learning objectives I laid out, and more important for you guys because you get to see whether I held up my end of the bargain. So we're pretty much going to be revisiting the learning objectives or the learning outcomes for this course to see whether we hit all the targets we laid out in the course introduction. So let's take a look at them here and let's see whether we did exactly what we said we were going to do. So to start off with the first one here, by the end of this course, you should be able to, or you will now be able to perform HTTP method tampering. Of course, we took a look at that quite extensively with quite a large lab that went over the multiple ways you can sort of perform HTTP method tampering. So I'm very happy with that, and I hope you guys concur as well. Secondly, you should now be able to attack sites using basic HTTP authentication and HTTP digest authentication. Indeed, we did cover both of them. We went through how they operate and the various tools you can utilize to attack sites that are utilizing either, basic HTTP authentication or digest authentication. And in the case of HTTP digest authentication, we took a look at how to utilize Hydra to streamline the process. Moving on, you should now have an understanding of what causes sensitive data exposure vulnerabilities. And yes, we did take a look at one example, one really severe example of passwords being leaked in clear text or being exposed, if you will. And we saw the potential effect of that using the actual lab that we explored in that video. You should now also be able to perform authentication testing in the form of attacking login forms and bypassing authentication. We took a look at that, although both in two different sections. So bypassing authentication was covered in the session security section, where we took a look at, the cookie manipulation when we were exploring, session hijacking. And in terms of attacking login forms, we took a look at two very good examples, one of which I don't think anyone else has covered or any other course covers, which was how to attack, OTP security endpoint, essentially brute force it and test it for as to whether or not the actual OTP codes have an expiry, and secondly, whether the OTP endpoint has a rate limiting functionality or has rate limiting in place. So I'm very happy with that as well. You should now also have a good understanding of how session management works and the role tokens or session IDs and cookies play in session management and security. Yup, we covered that in 3 videos, so quite a lot of content there where I went over session management, session security, session management testing, as well as the differences, or essentially taking a look at session IDs or session tokens and cookies individually. And we also then took a look at attacks to do with session management, like a cross-site request forgery, even though it's not directly related. We also took a look at session hijacking and session fixation, although session fixation was to a lesser extent, although it fed into the session hijacking video as well. So we covered session security quite well, I would say. And as I said, the labs are there for you to practice, so definitely give them a go. Do not just stick with the example that I gave you. The documentation also has different examples that you can explore. But overall, based on where we have reached here, I think we have covered everything that we laid out. And obviously, based on the way I taught the course, I'm pretty sure that you should know what I pretty much laid out, that you should know. And you should be able to do what I laid out that you should be able to do. You should also be able to identify and exploit command injection and code injection vulnerabilities, which we just wrapped up towards the end of this course. And finally, you should be able to identify and exploit security misconfigurations in web servers and other outdated and vulnerable components. Maybe I covered this a little bit too. I would say I didn't give you many examples here, but again, I gave you an example that sort of outlined, in the case of the MySQL database server, what an attacker can do once they've got an initial foothold on your web server, even if it's in the form of a database server. Apart from deleting your data, they can also write files to, pretty much any directory they want on the file system. And you saw what the result of that was. So overall, I'm really pleased with how this course turned out, and I'm really happy that we were able to cover everything that we were supposed to cover. As I said, there's a lot more coming in the other courses within this learning path that touch upon areas that, we did not touch upon in this course. This course is just to get you, up and running with regards to identifying and exploiting, common vulnerabilities or performing common attacks, if you will. So that brings us to the end of the course. I would like to thank you very much for making it this far, and I hope you found a lot of value in the course. As always, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or suggestions on the official INE community forum. And with that being said, I'm going to bid you my farewell, and hopefully I'll be seeing you in the next courses within the learning path. So thank you very much, and goodbye.